Welcome to the selected ones. You can't swear at something that came from heaven's code, but an angel undoubtedly told you to do it again as you faced death. Let's be clear about this. You would be the bug in a video game if spiritual combat were real. They can't cure everything all the time. The Dark Coven thought they had changed your fate. The lights came back on, and they were better than divine Wi-Fi in every way. They want to harm you not because you're weak, but because you show that their entire system is losing power. They've tried psychological warfare, stealing energy, interfering with money, and even destroying ancestors, but nothing succeeded. You not only lived, but you did it with grace and a little bit of a holy eye. It's not simply a tale that covens do things, it's a fact. It is real. In historical books, spiritual traditions from all across the globe, and even in covert experiments that are going on right now. These are the shadow networks, and they're not just casting spells on candles. They're commencing full-blown attacks against souls. But what do they do when they encounter someone whose source code has a firewall built in? Someone whose soul came with the return to sender setting already on. Someone who is really present often breaks their own rules. That's you. And now they're afraid. They can't kill you. They can't keep what they stole. And they can't stop what's coming next, that's for sure. So stay here and receive your spiritual popcorn. What I'm about to tell you will not only explain why they are scared of you, but also why they will never be able to get over crossing you. Let's get going. First of all, you're not only safe. You are designed to return back to life. They didn't just not murder you. What? They really didn't understand that you're not like everyone else. You were meant to come back again and over again. You don't just exist. You become stronger every time they try to break you. They expected you would shatter, fold, fall apart, or disappear when they came for you. But what they discovered was a divine machine that transformed pain into power. You're not just someone who has been through trauma. You made a deal with your soul. While they were sending you spiritual bullets, curses, lies, setups, and treachery, each attack you went through provided you a spiritual upgrade they never saw coming. They didn't realize they were starting a greater process that was written into your soul before you were even born. That's why you were more focused on your goal every time someone attempted to figure you out. You learned things that can't be taught but can only be learned when you survived an ambush. They thought they were finishing something, but they were actually beginning something new. A portion of you that no spell, falsehood, or scheme can touch. They are afraid of this because they want to be in command, but you have become completely unpredictable. You can't keep an eye on your energy. Nobody can replicate your strength. And how you sparkle. That is divine light reflecting off of every fight you won and lost. They don't understand why you're still standing. They don't understand how you can lose everything and yet get up without being angry. They don't understand why their attacks make you more focused, more grounded, and more lucky. Your soul has the ability to repair itself. The more they try to kill you, the more your hidden codes wake up. It's not luck. It's God's design. They didn't know how powerful the power was. They were looking for someone. But they didn't know that you're more than just a person. You are a divine assignment that has a body. That's why nothing works out for them. You're proof that the chosen ones don't just bounce back. They bounce higher. And now they're afraid to watch. I don't know how you're still here, still shining, and so strong. Because some souls don't want to be broken. There are individuals here who want to influence history. Second, your assets are quantum. That's why they can't keep them. They thought they could take what was yours and get away with it. Your money, your ideas, your future, and your inheritance. Whatever seemed worthwhile in the real world. They thought that if they stopped it, took it, or sent it somewhere else, you would have nothing. But they didn't understand that your wealth was never just things. Your true assets are in your energy, your mission, and how will you get along with divine timing. That's why they couldn't keep what they were trying to take. Every blessing they stole became poison in their hands since it wasn't in harmony with their spirit. This is what people don't get. The benefits that come with a chosen one are encoded. What you have in the bank isn't the only thing that makes you rich. It's written in your frequency. Your energy pulls in divine resources, thoughts from above, help from heaven. Even if they take all your money, stop you from getting forward, or lie their way into a position that was meant for you, it doesn't last. Why? Because you gave the gift. You carried the divine plan. The favor leaves with you when you go. That's what makes them the most scared. Not that you lost anything, but you keep obtaining more and more after the loss. You don't stay poor. You don't stay blocked. You don't stay down. You reset and readjust, and the universe begins to move things back in your favor. Sometimes it's even better than it was before. Not because you're lucky, but because your spiritual economy doesn't depend on what's going on in the world. You live in a higher world. They messed up your things because they thought they were stealing from a genuine person. They didn't know they were messing up the inheritance of a selected one. Anything that is protected by anything from above. That's why nothing they took made them feel better. That's why it started to break down, causing chaos and backfiring. That wealth wasn't only for you. It was given to you. And when something that was given to you is misused, the spiritual effects are severe. You are the carrier and the multiplier. The reason things do well. That's why they couldn't keep what they stole. They have to see you rise again, and whatever they tried to take from you comes back, larger and stronger than before. 3. The Coven didn't fear you at first. They were scared of what you might remember. At first, they weren't afraid of you. In fact, at first, they were sure they had you in their hands. Simple to change. It's easy to become sidetracked. Simple to manage. Your presence didn't bother them. They knew you were starting to remember who you really are at that time. That transformation, when your spirit started to wake up and turn down everything fake around you. That's what scared them to death. These people, these covens, these spiritual manipulators, whatever form they took, knew from the start that if you ever really accepted your truth, they would lose their power over you. That's why they kept you in survival mode, made you doubt yourself, and kept you busy with drama, betrayals, addictions, and cycles of rejection. They lied to you so much that you almost forgot you were the king. But as soon as your memories came back, the power changed hands. You started to ask more important inquiries. You started to feel nauseous about the activities that used to keep you busy. You began to cut off energies that seemed heavy. That's not a coincidence. That's what activation is. And when a chosen one turns on, evil forces lose their grip. The key is to stop working. The trick doesn't work. The illusion falls apart. The Coven wasn't afraid of your voice. They were scared of how clear you were. Because you don't have to follow their rules anymore when you see through the spell. You don't become involved in fake friendships, trauma bonds, or emotional blackmail. When you disconnect, it has a ripple effect that shakes up the entire system they set up to keep you attached. Remembering who you are is a battle of the spirit in its own right, because that memory gives you access. Access to spiritual tools, ancestral power, and divine downloads that hurt their entire company. That's why they try to keep you from waking up by scaring you, confusing you, and even threatening you. But it was too late. Once a chosen one remembers, they can't go back. And now they're watching how you move. You finally woke up, so talk and live in a new way. And by doing so, you destroyed everything they built on your pain, your ignorance, and your silence. Now they're scared of what you may do with your memories, not your power. 4. Their spells worked. They didn't work. They thought they were being clever by doing rituals, casting spells, and calling on energy to change your path, block your blessings, or bring you trouble. But they didn't think about spiritual law. They didn't realize that when a chosen one is involved, everything done in the shadows would come back to you with interest. They unlock doors. Yes, but they do it in your name. Not knowing your name gives you power in heaven. And because of this, the energy they sent off couldn't hurt you. It sought for you, found you protected, and then jerked back to the center like a curse with a built-in GPS. This wasn't just a failed attack. It was a spiritual setup. They stepped into it. It didn't work out because you tried to avoid it. Your energy field turned it down completely. Your frequency is linked to the truth, the source, and high-level divine rules. You don't vibrate low enough to take up their energy, even when they are trying to send it to you. That's why nothing is stuck. That's why you kept doing well as their life steadily fell apart. Every time they lied about you, tried to stop your progress, or sent you anything bad, it hurt them spiritually. Because chosen ones aren't just safe. They are mirrors. They are completely receptive to whatever is sent to them. When you're around, they talk a lot about their own goals. That's why people go crazy when they cross you. That's why they became sick, lost things, and felt alone not long after they tried to change your fate. It's not revenge. It's a lovely give and take. They assumed you didn't know what was going on. But you don't have to be cognizant of spiritual warfare to bring about justice. Your higher self saw everything and made things happen behind the scenes. And now they have to cope with the consequences. They never got ready for what they planned to use to trap you. They ended up trapping them in the dark they sent. Not just missed you. It went back and begged the folks who phoned it for cash. They messed with powers they didn't understand. And just by being honest, you bring about their own downfall. That's what makes a selected one powerful. You don't fight back. Your energy performs the work for you. 5. Your spiritual immunity showed how they were falling apart. You didn't come into their life to argue, fight, or hurt someone. But just being there started to do something they couldn't explain or hide from, even if they tried. You found out what was really going on with them, the lies they hid under charm, the envy they bury behind fake praise, and the fury they mask behind forced smiles. Things started to get better when you came. And the truth is that it had nothing to do with what you said. The masks fell off because you were so excited. That's how it is with chosen ones. You have a frequency that doesn't like lies. You don't have to say anything for others to feel uncomfortable around you. Your spiritual immunity and unwillingness to take on things that aren't yours make the demons angry since they've learned to live with it. Your peace meets their chaos. Your growth makes them stop and your light shines. It doesn't just shine. It means they wanted you to be the problem. They tried to turn the tables and make you seem crazy. Too touchy, too strong. But what really happened was that your soul came into the room and started a spiritual audit. All of a sudden, their excitement didn't sit well. Their intentions couldn't stay hidden. Their wounds that hadn't healed were rising to the surface. And since you wouldn't go along with their games or believe their lies, they started acting like you were the one who was causing the storm. But you weren't the storm. You were the reflection. And that's why they hated you and didn't tell you why they turned on you. Because looking at you meant seeing everything about yourself. They don't want to become better. It wasn't what you said that stung so much. It was your alignment, your growth, and your refusal to shrink to make them feel better. You didn't kill them. They just couldn't handle the truth. Your vibe shows it. That's the real reason they left. Betrayed you or tried to damage your reputation. Not because you did anything illegal, but because you were so smart that it was hard for them to keep lying. You didn't show them to be small-minded. Your soul just won't lie for them. 6th, you can't be killed since you're not on their schedule. They've been trying to move around you like you're just another piece on the board. Someone they can catch, trap, or kill. But they don't understand that you're not even playing the same game as them. They're stuck in earthly cycles, worried with power plays and short-term benefits. You're following a celestial pattern that goes far beyond what humans can see. That is why none of their plans work. You don't behave the way they think you will, and you don't break down under the pressure they think would destroy you because you're not afraid, manipulated, or threatened with death. It's governed by a goal. This life isn't the only one that matters. You arrive here with soul-level instructions, spiritual agreements, and divine protections that can't be hacked, stopped, or broken. That's why every attempt to get rid of you just makes you stronger, even when it seems like you've lost. Something bigger within you comes to life. It's as if your soul recalls the goal, and instead of breaking, you become better. They don't understand it. It bothers them because what kind of person lives? Even after betrayal, setups, death spells, and loss, they keep becoming stronger, clearer, and more popular. Someone who has been selected and isn't restricted by time. That's who. They don't understand that your life isn't just happening by chance. There are things that are written in your destiny that must happen, and no amount of spiritual or physical violence can stop them. You're here to make a difference, not to be liked. You are on a divine clock, not a calendar made by man. And because of that, they can't choose your expiration date. They can't touch the assignment, even if they touch the body. Your spirit doesn't operate while you're scared. It operates on prophecy. That's why even when things are at their worst, there are still signs, synchronicities, and sudden changes. You're part of a divine plan that grows across all dimensions. So even if they think they won, you've already moved on to the next part of your quest, where you're stronger, wiser, and much more dangerous to darkness than before. They can't kill something that isn't meant to die. And what about you? You have to stay here till the job is done. Not a second before number 7. They couldn't possess something they couldn't touch. They thought they could take what was yours and maintain it like it would work. The same way for them. They thought your blessings were just things. Just a link, a name, bank account, platform, or an idea. They didn't know that those attributes were connected to your goal and not just your personality. You weren't just lucky. You were someone who walked beneath a divine blessing. That means that everything that had to do with you was in sync with your job. They couldn't touch it, much alone steal it. They moved like thieves. But what they touched wasn't normal. It was sacred. And when anything valuable is taken by force or dishonesty, it stops being blessed. It starts to rot. That's why they didn't stay on top. That's why the relationship they stole fell apart. Why the task they stopped from happening became an issue. Why the energy they drew from you never made them feel satisfied. It made them even more tired since everything they stole had heavenly fingerprints on it. Anything holy doesn't accept counterfeit ownership. They didn't just cross a line with you. They went too far with the source. And the source doesn't play about when it comes to picking ships. They felt you were simply another person they could fool, outwit, or get rid of. But they weren't dealing with someone who acquired their employment via family or friends. They were dealing with someone who was put there by God. Men did not choose you. They gave you the job. People made fun of you. Not taken care of. And it really does make a difference. Your birthright, your spiritual gifts, and your good fortune. You can't give such things away as you can property. They are a part of everything you do. That's why it fought back when they tried to take what was yours. It became heavy. It started to show them. And in the end, it started to ruin them from the inside out. You weren't only chosen to get, you were chosen to carry. And only you could handle it since you were the only one who was chosen for it. That's why they weren't able to hold it. That's why they couldn't get it. That's why they never got anything useful out of what they took, no matter how far they went. They didn't just take. They were cruel to something. Well, and now they're paying a price they didn't see coming. Hey, the Coven is worried because they can see the reversal starting. They're not monitoring you anymore to find out how to stop you. They already know they can't. They're keeping an eye out for signals that they're about to fall apart. That's the change. They were following your steps initially to attempt to throw you off. Now they're quietly freaking out and keeping an eye on everything about you, not to attack, but to see how much time they have left until everything they sent out begins to fall apart. That's what scares them. The change has already begun. The swearing, the lying, and the sabotage. They didn't simply go away. They came back around. And because you're still alive, breathing, and growing, that is ample indication that divine justice is presently at work. The same energy they sought to bury you with is now going to dig them out, expose them, and tear down the whole system they employ to control other people. They can sense it. That nagging feeling that nothing is working the way it used to. The rituals are boring. The manipulation doesn't work anymore. Because you started to heal, forgive, align, and live in clarity, you set off spiritual laws that can't be undone. This is why the favor they stole from you is running out. You are proof that heaven doesn't forget, even if people try to erase it. You don't even have to raise your hand. Your own existence is now a countdown. They know what they did. They remember how far they went to keep it a secret. The people they hired to work against you, and the spiritual vows they broke to try to stop you. And now they're keeping an eye on how you're doing. Not because they're envious, but because they're scared. Every time you make a breakthrough, it's a sign that the balance is shifting and their time is running out. You have the kind of anointing that doesn't shout for revenge, but rather does it quietly, deliberately, and in a way that is proper. Your energy changes the mood of places as you walk in. It takes up responsibility without saying anything. The Coven knows this. That's what makes them so scared. Because they don't want you anymore. You are evidence that their judgment is already starting. Number 9. You are the one who collects debts for your family. You didn't only come here in this life to do better or break family curses. You came here with a job written in the cries, prayers, and silent pain of those who came before you. Your existence isn't by chance. It's old justice dressed up in flesh. You were the one your family sent to settle the score. The karma they sought to avoid. You came to face it front on. The truth they wanted to hide. You came to dig it up and say it out loud. The blessings that were taken, sent somewhere else, or kept spiritually safe. You come to get them back with interest. You don't only have to deal with your own pain. You have a deep spiritual memory that you carry with you. Things you've never seen in person are still in your bones. You can feel how heavy things are. No one spoke about the abuse, the lies, the rituals, or the manipulation. Not because you think so, but because your soul has the plans for what has to be fixed, broken, and changed. That's exactly why the Covenant shook. For decades, they've kept your family spiritually in chains. But now you've come as the bill collector. There's no need for you to be angry. You didn't mean to be alone. You aren't waking up to this battle for no reason. The divine is resetting everything that occurs to you. They never saw you coming as the beautiful spirit you are. The one who wouldn't give in to the problems. The person who can't be fooled by success on the surface. The one who remembers. And just your memory is bad since it may destroy the lives of generations. Because of you, the spiritual structures that used to control your ancestors are crumbling apart. You're not only breaking old habits, you're pulling them up by the roots. You are making spirits of the past panic, taking away the power of ancestral oppressors, and ending long-standing curses just by standing up for the truth and your spiritual authority. You are not an outcast. You are a celestial enforcer, and your life is the answer to a spiritual duty that has been around for a long time. Your ancestors couldn't get their act together. You are the one who will pay. You are the repair. The Coven also understands they've never dealt with a soul like yours before. 10. They can't kill anything that has a job to do. You weren't made only to get by, fit in, or go through life without being noticed. You coming here was a problem. People didn't only rejoice your birth in real life. It caused a spiritual panic. Because in the unseen areas, your soul didn't arrive gently. It came with unfinished business, celestial responsibilities, and codes that would break all the things that had been holding your family and others in chains. That's why they came for you. So soon. That's why they went for you before you even realized who you were. Because the Dark Realm knew what you carried even when you didn't. They weren't afraid of you just because you were chosen. They were afraid of you because you were going to do what others had done before. You couldn't. You came to shut doors that had been open for hundreds of years. You came to stop patterns that fed on pain, silence, and lies. You came with contracts that need to be settled. And that resolve means getting rid of anything that doesn't serve divine truth by exposing, uprooting, and eradicating it. And this is what makes you completely unkillable. You didn't come here to be famous, recognized, or comfortable. You are here to fulfill. That makes you dangerous in a way that they can't stop. You can't be bought, distracted, or silenced like other people. You know the job in your bones. No matter how hard you tried to quit, something deeper kept pulling you back. That wasn't being obstinate. That was your spirit, not letting you end a magnificent timeline. The moment you began, the countdown in the spirit sped up. You closed gates with every stride you took toward your goal. The enemy thought it would remain open indefinitely. When you don't play along, you upset patterns in families, communities, and institutions. That's why they couldn't end you. That's why you're still here, even after all the attacks, breakdowns, and betrayals, and more focused than ever. You're not just living up to your forecasts. Every breath you breathe puts the mechanisms that hide the truth at risk. You are a walking expiration date for strongholds. That's why you frighten people without trying. They can't kill what they were assigned to do. You're not only performing a task, you are the number of the mission. Your energy signature is the code that keeps them out. Your energy is something people can't ignore. No matter how many rituals they execute, no matter how regularly they monitor, no matter how competent they are in black arts, your frequency doesn't simply repel evil. It keeps people from getting in. You're not safe on the surface. Hope for the best kind of behavior. Godly encryption keeps you secure. Your soul has been branded, sealed, and protected by a spiritual firewall. When anything impure tries to get into your field, you're essentially hardwired to create trouble. That's why they hit a wall when they try to astral travel to spy, steal, or cause trouble. In the middle of the operation, their connection is cut off. They don't know what hit them, but it leaves them tired, confused, and in some cases spiritually hurt. Because your field doesn't let dirty frequencies connect, They can't stay in your presence for long without reacting. They see you as not just spiritually resistant, but also spiritually explosive. You didn't learn this. You were born with it. Your energy signature is unique, like a fingerprint from space. The higher realms know who you are. Angels may view your frequency as a bright light. The smaller forces do too, but for a completely different reason. They see you as a fault in the system, a firewall, a force that makes things stop and start just by being there. That's why they can't get into your dreams, change your feelings, or penetrate your aura, no matter how hard they try. They get cooked. It's not that you think you're better than everyone else. You don't think you're untouchable. It's that heavenly wisdom gave you permission to walk a certain route that no evil can take over. This isn't pride. They realize this is spiritual infrastructure. You go into rooms and its rituals don't mean anything. When you enter gaps, spell work loses its potency. You tell the truth, and their predictions come true. Not because you're fighting, but because your energy alone makes a kind of lockdown. They've tried everything from monitoring spirits to soul connections to infiltration attempts, but they keep being turned down. You were shut out for good since your field wasn't secure. It was set up ahead of time to not work with anything that wasn't in line with divine order. They can't figure you out. They can't get into your area. The lock is your frequency, and they've already lost the key. Number. They tried to bind you up, but you're a living door. They thought that if they could bind you with word curses, spiritual contracts, emotional traps, or mental warfare, you would give up, stop talking, and stay little. But they didn't know who they were up against. You're not just a soul trying to survive spiritual attacks. You are a living gateway, an open path for advancement from above. They lit something they didn't even believe in as they tried to imprison you. Change emotions on a spiritual level so deeply that they change their plans and turn limits into launching pads. They worked hard to stop your voice, limit your options, and keep you in a state of confusion or guilt. But every time they did, your soul turned their darkness into insight, their treachery into limitations, and their delays into spiritual acceleration. That's what sets you apart. You don't just bounce back, you become better. Every time someone tries to limit you, it makes you more in tune with yourself. They assumed that tying you up meant keeping you in one place. But they didn't get that you were made to grow. You weren't meant to fit in boxes. You were sent to break them open. That's why their magic spells didn't work. That's why every spell meant to silence you just made your voice louder. That's why what was meant to make you give up made you strong. You took the cage and made a stairway out of it. You don't only carry celestial energy. You are a living example of divine technology. Your system is set up to change. When darkness enters your field, it doesn't stay the same. It's been filtered, flipped, and modified. Pain makes you smarter. The loss turns into clarity. The wall turns into a breakthrough. And this is what they didn't expect. The more they try to stop you, they helped you develop more. Their rituals always worked. They became the location where you trained. You didn't just live. You made new regions of power possible. They never meant for you to touch, but they handed you the keys without knowing it. They wanted to close a door. They didn't know you were the door. Every hit just opened another gate, and you walked right through it. Number. They are considerably more afraid of you being arrested than of your anger. They aren't really scared of your anger. Rage is loud, emotional, and quick to respond, and they know how to get it. They've been through that kind of stress before. But your rest, that's what makes them uneasy. Because when a chosen one goes to sleep, not only sleep, but also peace of mind. You're not going to sleep. You're being charged up. Your silence doesn't mean you've given up. It means strategy. And they realize that they are using up energy trying to hex, watch, or control everything you do. You are in a state of celestial reset. You're not playing their games because you've moved out of their range. You're letting celestial intelligence change the course of your future. They can't find your battlefield, which is stillness. They don't know what's going on within you. And it concerns them more than anything you could say out loud. Because resting for a chosen one isn't laziness. It's about alignment. It's when heaven sends you new information. Thoughts, warnings, ways to do things, safety measures, and ways to make things better. When you're calm enough to accept, they all come through. That's why the other person fights your sleep more than anything else. That's why they provide chaos before your breakthroughs, before your calm and drama. When you're almost clear, they realize that every time you take a break, you come back with sharper vision, a stronger anointing, and better execution. You don't rest as other people do. When you pull back, you can see things that other people can't. Your body may not be moving, but your spirit is talking to higher worlds. That's why they keep an eye on you so closely after you stop talking. It's not because they think you've given up. It's because they know you're becoming dangerous again. They've seen this happen every time they think they've tired you out. You disappear and come back stronger, calmer, more focused, and more in line. They are worried about that rhythm since they can't change something they can't get to. They can't look at what you're downloading. They can't stop the timetable of God. And they can't stop what's happening while you're resting in your sacred zone of repair. You don't roar. You get your energy back. And they can tell something is different before you say anything. Number their real fear. You are the seed that shows the whole plantation. They thought you were just another target. Someone they might use. Be quiet and throw them away as they've done to so many others. But you were not like them. You didn't stay broken. You didn't run away in shame. You became better in front of other people. You got up. In reality. And by doing that, you turn into the one thing they never wanted to deal with. Evidence. Breathing and living. There is clear proof that their system is built on falsehoods, abuse, manipulation, and fear. It's not only your survival that troubles them. It's that you're doing well even if they try to hurt you. Your strength isn't quiet. It says a lot. It says, this didn't destroy me, but I'm going to tell the truth about it today. That's enough to make you more dangerous than warriors. They can't get rid of you. They can't make you silent by gaslighting you. They can't make the world think you're crazy. Not when everything in your life suddenly makes sense, is clear, and has a purpose. They hurt more than just you. You weren't the only one. They tried to connect stillness or erase. But you were the one who lived to tell the story. That's why you're the seed that might ruin the entire plantation. Because others are watching you. Others are waking awake because of you. Your life exposes them to strategy so others can see through their trickery. Just being there makes rooms dark without you needing to say anything. Your healing goes against everything they built to keep people from getting out. You were supposed to fade away, fall apart, or become bitter. But instead, you are the evidence that everything they built was never as robust as they said it would be. You're not just a survivor. You are a light. And here's the truth. They don't want to be found out. You got out so others can too. If you got your voice back, so can everyone else. Your life isn't just a comeback. It's a chain reaction. Every step you take toward freedom breaks down what they built on secrecy. And the more you shine, the more their whole system starts to fall apart. You were never meant to stay buried. You were put in the ground to grow. And now you're finding every rotten root they try to hide. Let them see. Let them run about. Let them talk in circles while they attempt to figure out how you're still going up. After all they did to bury you. In truth, you were never just a survivor. You were the spiritual oddity that they couldn't see coming. The divine flaw in their plan to govern the next generation. And now you are evidence that they stole all their power, that their dominion was a mirage, and that their rights were useless against real divine authority. You didn't just end the cycle. You showed it. You walked into the flames they created for you. And instead of turning to ash, you were flame-resistant. Your presence now is a sign of things to come. Every breath you take, every line you draw, and every truth you speak is a proof that they no longer have power over you. You are the divine audit that they never saw coming. The body is the answer to your ancestors' prayers and the nightmare for every bad being who bet on your silence. The Coven is scared. The system is falling apart. The people who were watching are now being watched. Why? Your aim is too big, too covered, too hacked, and too sacred to die, to be touched by the filthy. You weren't just chosen. You were given the go-ahead. What? They tried to take, but they will get back twice as much. What they tried to quiet will be much louder. What they wanted to tear down will now provide the foundation for others to build on. This is your proof. You are not broken. You are built. You are here to halt cycles, take back legacies, and get other people moving simply by walking. In reality, your very presence makes things uncomfortable. And the people who try to stop you, they will have no choice but to watch you do the task they were most afraid of. Now is your moment to not only shine, but also to rock the foundations of every structure that thought you wouldn't make it. You are the storm. They can't get away from the truth. They can't stop talking, and they can't put out the light. If this letter touched your heart and confirmed what you already knew deep inside, don't just scroll past. This is your group. Now is your time. Right now, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Don't wait, since every video here has the clarity, confirmation, and spiritual fire that they don't want you to hear. Like this video to help the algorithm spread this message. Truth should be shared widely. Leave a comment below to let them know I'm not just selected. I'm not like that. Say it. Say it. Let your voice break through the silence. They try to keep you inside. And most importantly, let someone else who is getting better know about this. Someone who needs to keep track. They are crazy. They receive a call. We're not simply getting folks to watch. We're beginning something big. Welcome to the front lines. You're not by alone anymore.